Hello guys and dolls, welcome back to Honey Badger 3D Print and Paint. Today we are taking a look at the Indiana Jones model from Sanix. Before we get started, roll those credits. So, it's been a while since I have tried to do a really detailed model. So models like our Aquaman or models like Green Goblin are really large, they're really complicated, but they're actually not that detailed. There's loads of little details in them. My paint jobs recently have been a lot of sort of similar colours, so I really wanted to try and bring it back to something that's a bit more of a manageable size and something that was going to, something I was really going to be able to sort of do something with. Do you know what I mean? I was going to be able to sort of make my own. So enter Indiana Jones. This model is by Sanix. I felt it was a good one to do at the time because obviously the new Indiana Jones film is coming out. This is not old Indiana Jones. This is the original Indiana Jones, I suppose, back when he didn't need a Zimmer frame to get over all the tiny rocks. There's a lot in this model, and as a result, I'll do some sort of cutaway shots and things like that to sort of go over the areas that I'm talking about. But first and foremost, this model has a lot of extra layers to it because I've done some sort of diorama style layering. So first and foremost, I went a bit heavy on sort of foliage, but also on mud effect. So we've been using this this mud effect called AK mud effects. They come in big pots and they are effectively big gloopy mud that you just scoop out with a paintbrush and you just sort of smack on. Gives a really organic look, gives some depth, gives some layers. And then I just hit that on top of that once it dries. Just hit it with some clear coat. I use a yacht varnish and that made a real difference. So it gave this it sort of brought it to life a little bit. We've also got some flocking on the tree branch and some sort of grasses and things like that. All of those are from different model kits that I've sort of brought together, cut up and used the way that I wanted to, as well as some dry moss and other bits and pieces. So printer-wise, this model isn't small size-wise. So this model is about 450mm long, about 550mm tall, and about 250mm wide. I did this 200% scale from the original that Sanix released, mainly because this is kind of the size that I like. I find it a little bit easier to do faces and eyes and different details, and I find that all the grass and everything that I do is kind of in scale for this. If it had been at 100%, I feel like all of this would have looked really oversized and could have really overpowered the model. I used a lot of different, so two main printers did this. So the Indiana Jones was actually done on the Frozen Mega 8K, and it did an absolutely glorious job. So we also did the whip, and as well we did these ropes. So these ropes all print separately, so they were all done the Mega 8K as well. Sanix done a pretty good job, as he always does, of cutting this up to mean that it was quite easy to print and quite easy to scale. So the base did all print as one part, and then the tree prints separately, the stone prints separately, all these wooden sections, the ropes and these torches all print separately as well. Indiana Jones himself comes in about 6 pieces. So there's torso with jacket, head, the legs are all one piece. I believe the boots were included in the legs, and then the 2 hands were separate as well. I've tried to make him really muddy on this one, so so you'll see from some of the pictures that, or some of the close-ups, that I've tried to sort of make sure his trousers are muddy and his jacket and everything else. I really like how the model turned out overall. I've been sort of trying to push myself with different painting techniques. And this was an example of me trying more diorama style stuff rather than sticking to the sort of the regular sort of model painting with a little bit of Warhammer thrown in. So the idea of the flocking and the idea of all of the sort of greenery and stuff was to create layers, was to mean that this felt like it sort of was bursting out of itself. This had literally been lifted and shifted right out of the jungle. So a lot of this was about sort of moving away from just sort of flat rocks to trying to creating textures and everything else that wasn't originally there in the model. I did use a Stone Effect spray paint, so I'm finding I'm using the Stone Effect spray paint a lot more because it does a really good job again at creating texture. So it's by Plasticoat, and what you do is you prime it in your base grey first. So I'm using a high coat grey, and then I'm hitting it with my with the Stone Effect spray paint. And it has little flecks in it, and that again, it creates texture, it creates depth, and it really is a pretty instant stone effect. When it came to painting this, the vast majority, if not the entirety of this, is done with an airbrush, except for the mud effect. So all of this is airbrushed on. Again, the same with the ropes, that's airbrushed, and then there is just a painted on layer of Agrax Earthshade, which is a really nice contrast paint that just sort of goes on. Really, really nice, gives again, it just sort of falls in a nicely organic way. It means you can create the illusion of sort of real life textures, because when you're painting, or certainly when I'm painting, I have a tendency to create patterns, and then you look at it and you go, oh yeah, okay, that looks terrible. But when you're using the washes like Agrax Earthshade, you don't really have a lot of control necessarily on exactly where all of it falls, and that's good because you want it to look more organic. You want it to run off in the direction that it would run, because that creates sort of that illusion of being real. If I'm perfectly honest with myself, I'm not in love with the fire, but other than that, I really, really like the way the model came together overall. The way that this was posed by Sanix, there's some really nice features I say features, but there's some really nice details that he baked into the model. So things like, as he's sliding down here, his trousers have ridden up a bit on this boot, and you can actually see on the side that the way that his trouser connects and goes against the stone, it's ruffled, and it sits really nicely. He's not just plonked on, it's done really well. And the same with the flowing jacket as well, the way that it bellows out at the back. I really like all of that. When I did the model originally, it wasn't my favorite model that I'd ever seen. I'm not a massive Indiana Jones fan, but I do like the original films. But this has very quickly become probably one of my favorite models that I've painted. It's a different level of detail and a different level of effort that I normally go to. So I'll leave you guys with some sort of 360 degree doing some panning shots and stuff. Thank you very much. If you want to get this model yourself, it's available on Sanix's website. I'll put a link in the video description. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for continuing to support the channel, and we will catch you on the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a great day.